have no recollection of ever meeting this lady.
Virginia Giuffre, as a woman Prince Andrew has always insisted he did not know.
I can absolutely categorically tell you it never happened.
He has consistently denied sexually abusing her when she was under 18. Today, in a document submitted to an American court, it was revealed the Duke of York has reached an out-of-court settlement with Miss Giuffre, just weeks before he was due to answer questions under oath in her civil case against him. She had always claimed she was forced to have sex with the Duke by the billionaire Jeffrey Epstein and his girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell. The sum of money involved in the settlement was not disclosed and there was no admission of any wrongdoing. The statement said,
Prince Andrew has never intended to malign Miss Giuffre's character, and he accepts that she has suffered both as an established victim of abuse and as a result of unfair public attacks. It is known that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked countless young girls over many years. Prince Andrew regrets his association with Epstein and commends the bravery of Miss Giuffre and other survivors in standing up for themselves and others.
It is a dramatic and unexpected development on this story from both sides. In October, the Duke of York was still describing Miss Giuffre's case as baseless, accusing her of chasing money by creating a media frenzy. Just last month, increasingly beleaguered, the Duke had all his military titles and the use of His Royal Highness withdrawn by the Queen. But his legal team submitted 11 reasons why the case should be dismissed and added he demanded a jury trial. Yesterday, his lawyers were told their demand to see the original of this notorious picture could not be met. The photo, which the Duke had always claimed was fake, had been lost. But does settlement mean success for the Duke of York?
Once Prince Andrew had exhausted all the technicalities that he was pursuing, I mean, it was technicality after technicality, it got to the stage now where the only thing that was going to happen was a hearing in a court. And the last thing I'm sure he wanted, and certainly his backers would have wanted, was for him to be giving evidence in a courtroom, or certainly hearing Virginia Giuffre's evidence. So I think it was likely. I think it's happened faster than people imagined. It's been damaging all round. And I think the resolution today is certainly not a victory for Prince Andrew.
Miss Giuffre has consistently said her fight would not stop until she was vindicated.
He knows exactly what he's done, and I hope he comes clean about it.
But without any admission, does today's settlement achieve that?
She has chosen to end it this way. In the sense, the two parties spoke to each other, and as you said, there is nothing in this statement about what she leveled in her complaint. That said, she did get the prince to pay the settlement, whatever settlement that was, and also to support her charity and make the pledge that he did to renounce his association with Jeffrey Epstein and to applaud her courage as a survivor. So I believe that her attorney, David Boies, said on Newsnight on BBC that his client was open to a settlement, but the settlement would have to be more than a number. And I think we've seen it play out exactly the way it was announced during that interview.
The settlement is not the only price paid by the Duke. Will he be able to return to this, to stand by the side of his mother, the Queen, and the rest of the royal family? Or is the damage to his reputation now fatal? He's promised he will work tirelessly for victims of abuse in the future. It may be his only role. Well, let's go live to our reporter Anya Pop, who is in Windsor. Anya.
Well, there's been no comment yet from Prince Andrew's team or the palace since that news broke. We do know that the Queen is here at the moment. She held an online audience earlier today from inside Windsor Castle. But I think there's little doubt that the whole royal family will be relieved that the prospect of a trial has now gone away. Prince Andrew and his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, were due to give evidence in the coming weeks, where I think, to put it bluntly, Prince Andrew's dirty washing would have been hung out for everyone to see in public. And even though he's been stripped of his royal titles, this whole ordeal has been hanging over the whole institution, which would be unwelcome in any year, but especially this year, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And I think that this settlement may mark an end to the public allegations and the legal tussles, but the damage done by all of this will hang over the royal family for some time to come. And he's always denied these allegations, but he'll have to live with the conclusions that many people will make through his decision to settle in this way. And then there is the question, of course, of who will pay for all of this. And that figure tonight is being reported to be as high as £10 million.
Thanks very much, Anya. Well, joining me now from LA is Gloria Allred, who represents many victims of the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Ms. Allred, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Now, this is a settlement in principle. Does this mean it is all over?
Well, it will be all over if and when the settlement is paid. And in that case, Jackie, the case will be dismissed, according to the statement made to the court today by attorney David Boies for Virginia Giuffre.
Now, the settlement, the statement rather, is as interesting for what's not in it. What is not in it is how much that settlement will total. We're hearing reports here of £10 million. What's your assessment?
Well, it is interesting that it doesn't say, and that it is going to be paid to Virginia Giuffre's nonprofit. Now, I don't know where her nonprofit is established. If it's in the United States, there's going to have to be a public record of how much a nonprofit receives. So it may be that at some point it will come out how much was donated to her nonprofit. But Jackie, it also doesn't say whether Virginia will also receive any money from the settlement herself. In other words, not just to her nonprofit. And so obviously that is not something that is either confirmed or denied in this press statement. There's damage control for both sides going on. It's a carefully crafted, negotiated settlement statement for the press. I've literally done thousands of such statements and settlements, and every word is negotiated in such settlements.
One of the things that is perhaps most interesting, Virginia Giuffre said she wasn't after money. She wanted an admission. She wanted an apology. She did not get that today, did she?
She didn't get the apology. And also, I note from the statement to the court that the prince doesn't say that she's a victim of sexual abuse. He said she suffered as a victim of abuse and unfair public attacks. So what kind of abuse is he talking about? He doesn't say sexual. On the other hand, it's clear that he's saying she was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, which of course she was. And so were the 20 accusers that I represent. So look, this is being put to rest. Upcoming was, if it had not been settled, would be Prince Andrew's deposition, his testimony under oath. Would he have invoked the Fifth Amendment privilege to the United States Constitution? In other words, declined to testify on grounds that it might have tended to incriminate him? Her deposition would also have been taken. She would have had to testify under oath. Is that something that she wanted to do? Obviously, both sides decided there needs to be peace, and this is how they have crafted the peace.
Why specifically do you think she did agree to settle?
Well, you know, there's always risk, Jackie, to both sides of any civil lawsuit. No one really knows what the result will be because no one knows what a jury will do. Also, the prince had issues for appeal. And she also, I'm sure, spoke to her attorney, and her attorney advised her what those risks would be if she proceeded. There are risks on both sides. So rather than take the risk of what a jury essentially of strangers would ultimately decide, both sides decided to settle. And I might add, most cases, civil lawsuits, do settle prior to trial. And those that don't, at the end, one of them finds out which side was wrong not to have settled the case.
But then it's not possible to say in simple terms that anyone won this.
I would say that's accurate. You know, both sides did get something that they wanted. The prince is getting peace. It appears he's probably had to pay a lot of money, but he's not saying he's paying it to Virginia. He's paying it to her nonprofit to fight for victims' rights and against sex trafficking. As for Virginia, she does come out as in a positive way, because the princess had to pay a substantial amount of money. And he has kind of given a non-apology. He said something to say that she is an established victim, which of course she is. No question that she is. And so I would say both sides have won a bit and both sides really have lost a bit.
Gloria Allred, thank you so much for talking to us this evening. Well, I'm joined now by Roya Nikkhah, who's royal editor for the Sunday Times. Roya Nikkhah, can I ask you, you know, how relieved will the palace be this evening?
Well, Jackie, I think there's absolutely no doubt that there'll be an enormous sigh of relief in all the royal households tonight. Ever since this started to really come to the fore, and of course that dramatic move by the Queen a few weeks ago to strip Andrew of all his remaining military titles and associations, there has been an absolute strong desire from the Queen and all of the senior members of the royal family to have this case settled and not to go to a trial. So there will be huge relief and the hope that they can draw a line under this at some point soon.
And do you have any sense of how much was paid, and perhaps critically, who paid it?
I'm afraid I don't.
The rumours, reports tonight of £10 million. Does that sound possible?
Those are rumours. I'm not a legal expert in terms of settlement, but like the statement says, it's a substantial amount. I'm sure it won't be a small amount. So yes, I'm sure it's many millions of pounds probably.
Is it clear who will pay it? Because obviously there's controversy about whether Andrew will pay it or it comes from some wider fund related to the Queen.
It's not clear at this stage. We know that the Duke of York has been trying to sell his chalet in Switzerland to raise some funds. You know, it's interesting. He has limited funds, I think, in terms of, you know, he doesn't have a lot of cash in the bank. We know from previous reports, he has been loaned some money. I think there'll be a great desire not to see the Queen provide funding for the settlement, because that would be, as I reported, a very, very bad look. So we don't know where that money is coming from, and I'm sure those questions will be asked over the coming days.
And it's not only the money that will be a cost in the end for Andrew and the royal family. There is the whole question of reputational damage. Can Andrew come back into the fold? Can the royal family as a whole recover from this?
I think the royal family will recover from this. The royal family has, survived many scandals over the years, but there's no doubt that the Duke of York will not be coming back to royal duties. That has been clear to everyone except Andrew for the last few years, and the Queen has made it absolutely clear in her statement recently that all the titles and military links which he was associated with will not be returned to Andrew. This settlement is separate from that. He's settled, he will not be coming back to public life.
I mean, he has looked increasingly isolated, but who do you think has been driving this from within the royal family in terms of, you know, how quickly this has been settled? Has this all been handled by the Duke himself and his team, or has there been some involvement from the wider royal family?
Look, the wider royal family would have been as eager as I think Andrew not to see this go to trial. We have, there have been briefings behind the scenes from Andrew's team that even though there was some very punchy language a few weeks ago that he could see this all the way to trial, that he has always been looking to reach a settlement. So I think that has come from Andrew himself. But look, like I say, the royal family will be hugely relieved that a massively embarrassing, damaging trial is not going to loom over the Queen's Platinum Jubilee year.
Now, the royal family have had massively embarrassing moments before. Where, in your view, does this rank in terms of royal scandals?
I think it's right up there because you are dealing with something as sensitive as allegations of sexual abuse, which Virginia Giuffre made, and of course, Duke of York always denied. We know that Virginia Giuffre is a victim of convicted sex traffickers, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, both of whom were good friends with Prince Andrew. So as far as royal scandals go, this is right up there. And I think everyone in the royal family will be hoping that this settlement starts to reduce the level of news reporting and swirling around it. The great litmus test will be whether Prince Andrew can actually appear in public with his mother and members of the royal family in the future. I think that'll be a litmus test as to whether or not he'll be able to do family occasions, private occasions, but there's no way back for him to a public role.
It was going to be exactly my last question. That is the critical thing that he will want, won't he? To stand by the Queen, to say, this is all over, you're back, and you're saying that will never happen.
I'm pretty confident that he will never stand by the Queen and members of the royal family at official functions, on official duties. Look, there will be private family moments in the coming months. There will be family moments, things like the Duke of Edinburgh's service of Thanksgiving next month, which Andrew will very much hope to attend. That will be the great litmus test. I suspect he will appear again at family moments, but never again on official duties.
Roy and Nika, thank you very much for talking to us this evening. Thank you.